Compliments are supposed to feel good. That's the assumption everyone operates from. Someone praises you, you feel validated, you walk away a little lighter. That's how it works for most people. For you, it doesn't. Someone tells you you did a good job and your chest tightens. Your face does something you didn't choose. You deflect before you've decided to. The words come out wrong, too quiet or too rushed or buried under a joke that redirects the conversation. And the person moves on. They don't notice anything strange, but you do. Because the discomfort doesn't leave. It sits there long after they're gone, hours, sometimes days. Not because the compliment was cruel, not because they didn't mean it, because being told you're good at something feels worse than being told nothing at all. That's the contradiction. Compliments should make you feel seen. They make you feel exposed. They should make you feel capable. They make you feel like a fraud. They should close the gap between how you see yourself and how others see you. They make it wider. And you can't explain that to anyone without sounding damaged. Here's what actually happens when someone compliments you. They say you did well on something, a project, a task, a piece of work you finished. And the first thing that shows up isn't pride. It's disbelief. Not the loud kind, not the kind you'd argue about. The internal kind. The kind that immediately catalogs every mistake you made, every part you faked, every moment you had no idea what you were doing. And you think, if you really knew what happened behind the scenes, you wouldn't be saying this. So the compliment doesn't land as validation. It lands as proof you successfully tricked someone into thinking you're more competent than you are. And tricking people doesn't feel good. It feels precarious. Like you got away with something this time, but eventually someone will notice. Then the second reaction shows up. Pressure. Because compliments create expectations. If someone says you're good at something, you now have to be good at it consistently. Next time, and the time after that. The bar has been set. And you know you can't meet it. Because whatever you did this time that earned the compliment wasn't repeatable skill, it was circumstances, luck, the right variables aligning at the right moment. You can't control that. So now you're carrying the weight of a standard you didn't ask for and can't maintain. And when you inevitably fall short, which you will, their disappointment will be sharper than if they'd never complimented you at all. Then the third thing happens. Visibility. The compliment made you noticeable, drew attention, put focus on you. And attention is the last thing you want. Because attention means people start watching. And when people watch, they eventually see the parts you've been keeping hidden. The uncertainty, the improvisation, the constant fear you're about to be found out is less than #0. 6 hash is greater than. The compliment wasn't recognition. It was an invitation to closer scrutiny. And closer scrutiny always ends badly. And then there's the response problem. You don't know what to do when someone praises you. Every option feels wrong. If you accept it, if you say thank you and leave it at that, it feels like you're agreeing you're as good as they think, which feels dishonest. If you deflect it, if you downplay or redirect, you're rejecting their kindness, which makes you seem ungrateful. If you joke about it, you're dismissing them. So you do some mangled combination of all three and it comes out awkward and nobody's satisfied. And you're left sitting with the fact that you can't even handle being praised without making it uncomfortable for everyone involved. This is where the resistance starts. Because there's an obvious solution to all of this. Just believe the compliment. Just accept that maybe, possibly, you actually are good at the thing they're praising you for. Just close the gap between how they see you and how you see yourself by adjusting your view instead of dismissing theirs. That's what everyone tells you to do. Work on your self-esteem. Learn to accept compliments gracefully. recognize your own competence. Simple advice, completely useless. Because the resistance isn't about self-esteem. It's about self-knowledge. You know what it felt like to do the thing they're complimenting. You were there for every moment of it. You know the uncertainty, the false starts, the parts where you guessed and got lucky, the moments you almost gave up. You know the difference between what it looked like from outside and what it felt like from inside. And that difference is not small. So when someone compliments the outside version without seeing the inside version, you're faced with two options. Option one, believe them. Accept that their view is more accurate than yours. Adjust your self-image to match their perception. Option two, trust your own experience. Maintain that you know yourself better than they know you. Keep the gap in place. Most people in this situation choose option two, every single time. And it makes sense, because option one requires something almost impossible. It requires admitting you've been wrong about yourself. Not wrong in a small way, wrong in a fundamental way, for years. It requires accepting that the version of yourself you've been carrying around, uncertain, barely competent, always improvising, is less accurate than the version strangers see after watching you work for 20 minutes. That's not a comfortable realization. So the resistance holds. The compliment gets deflected. The gap stays open. The discomfort remains. And nothing changes. Here's the reframe. And it's not the one you're expecting. The usual reframe would be, learn to accept compliments. They're seeing something real. Trust their perspective more than your anxiety. That's not this. Because that reframe assumes the problem is that you're rejecting accurate information. What if that's not the problem? What if the problem is that both versions are incomplete? The version they're complimenting, competent, skilled, put together, that's real. It's based on what they observed. It's not a lie. But it's not complete because they didn't see the process, the doubt, the near failures, the luck. The version you're holding on to, uncertain, improvising, barely keeping it together, that's real too. It's based on what you experienced. It's not self-deception. But it's not complete either because you can't see the output the way they can. You can't see how it landed. You can't see the skill that was actually present even when it felt like guessing. Both versions are true, and both are partial. The discomfort comes from trying to decide which one is right. But that's the wrong question. The right question is, can you hold both at the same time without collapsing one into the other? Can you accept that you felt uncertain and still produce something good? Can you accept that the process felt like chaos and the results still landed well? Can you accept that internal experience and external perception don't have to match for both to be real? Most people can't. Because holding two contradictory truths at once is harder than picking one and discarding the other. So they pick the one that feels most familiar, the one that matches the story they've been telling themselves for years. And the compliment gets filed away as someone who doesn't really know them being kind. And the gap stays. Here's what doesn't change. Compliments will keep feeling uncomfortable. The disbelief will still show up first. The pressure will still feel like a trap. The visibility will still feel dangerous. That's not something you outgrow. But the discomfort stops being a problem when you stop treating it as evidence. Evidence that the compliment was wrong. Evidence that you fooled them. Evidence that the gap proves something broken about you. It's not evidence. It's just the feeling that shows up when two incomplete truths meet. An incomplete truths meeting doesn't require resolution. It just requires space. The compliment isn't asking you to believe it. It's asking you to consider that your version isn't the only version. And considering isn't the same as accepting. Most people never get there. They just get better at deflecting. Faster, smoother, more convincing, until the deflection becomes automatic and the gap becomes permanent.